Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. I'm your host, Amelia, and once again we're joined by Frank Geskis.
You're always going to be joined by me.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm always here. You know that. How are you, Amelia?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm extra good today because we've got a special guest on the show.
We do.
Welcome, Rebecca from Sheds and Homes.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting to have you. You're going to tell us all about sheds and shed homes, or shousers as we like to call them.
We like to call them shousers.
We do. Yeah. So what made you want to pursue a career in sheds and shed manufacturing, or should you call it prefabricated sheds?
Prefabricated sheds too. Yeah.
It pretty well happened by accident. So my husband, Luke, originally got into it, sort of took it on from his dad, and it started to get quite busy. And so, yeah, I just decided I think I can do that, learn something new, and, yeah, fell into it that way. And here I am, about 8 years later.
Oh, wow.
And, feel like I've learnt a whole lot about another industry, something that I never thought that I would learn about.
And there's a little bit to it as well, you know, like you have to know about the different classes and permits and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you learn a lot about the building industry as a whole, really. So, yeah, it's been quite interesting. You meet a lot of different people as well. So, yeah, it's a great job.
Yeah, nice.
Yes, but we all have to learn about the regs and regulations, and you sound like a scratch record explaining to everyone all the time.
Yes, yeah, at times you do. And, yeah, it's important for people to know what the process is as well. Then They have a clear understanding from the beginning. So I think that's pretty important, really. Yeah.
Sort of the purpose of our whole podcast, isn't it?
It's all about education.
Yeah, because there's a lot of questions that come up regularly and the same ones. And I'm also, sure you get it.
Yeah, you always get oddball ones too, you know. Mm-hmm. So, never come across. You still come across stuff that I've never seen before. I've been in the game for 25 plus years and going, really? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, people have some great ideas. Oh, yeah. And, it's really, that's the fascinating part of this job, I think, like getting to see people's projects, different ideas that they have, and they're looking for solutions and sort of there to help them find something that may work. So, yeah.
Might work, they think it works, but doesn't necessarily work. But then you can guide them in a way that it will work.
That's it, yeah. Yep.
Sounds like what we do.
Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Helping people fulfil, to meet all their requirements.
Yeah, that's it. That's the most fulfilling part of the job for me, really. Like, there's a certain amount of, that you can learn about what a shed is and what it does and what you can do with it. But, yeah, it's really just about helping people to find the right solution for their project.
And when it comes to sheds, everyone loves a good shed.
Yep. Australian dream, isn't it?
It is kind of, and actually it's one of the few things that are affordable now. And now they've put these dumbass planning restrictions that you can't, get a block near the beach. Can't just plonk a shed on it now. Scumbags. No, seriously, the planning commission, dumb idea. Should let us put sheds in a bathroom in there so we can park a caravan on a block.
Yeah, it's certainly something that a lot of people want to do, and we do see that quite a bit in some areas, especially on the east coast of Tassie. Yeah, it's quite a popular thing to want to do, park a caravan, have a bathroom, place where you can go and relax.
Yep, exactly. It's not that hard, is it? But they're trying to stop it.
Yep. Maybe
they don't like sheds.
I was going to say, is it all about aesthetics? I mean, is that what it is, or...
I honestly can't answer that. I think it's a load of rubbish. They want you to design a house, the new planning scheme. You've got to have a house designed with a shed, get a permit, and then you can build a shed. So you've got to spend a ton of money to do it. Whereas most people just want to put a shed up. And some person or persons or committees thought, no, I'm sick of this. Because that's been done for like 100 odd years. People bung up a shed and it turns into a shack.
Yeah, it does.
That's how half these fibro shacks are. They probably were sheds to start with.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of shame that has changed. I think it's very narrow-sighted or elitism, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think that they've probably put it in place for a couple of reasons. Yeah, one would probably be the aesthetic side of it, and the other would be, just trying to sort of stop people from illegally living in buildings that weren't designed to be livable in the first place. So I think that's where it's come from, but it has restricted people in a lot of ways as to what they can do on their properties, which is disappointing, I think.
Oh, I think so, because if you were to buy a block of land now in any of the coastal areas in Tassie, you're paying a fair bit of coin for it.
Yeah,
and you don't necessarily have the coin to actually put a house on there straight away. But there's no reason why we can't build a shed with a livable area in it.
Yes, that's right.
My house.
Yes, house, livable shed.
Yes.
Class 1A.
Yep, exactly. Yep. We can do all that. And you guys can supply them with all that as well.
That's right.
So with that in mind, with what you supply for, houses or sheds, prefabricated houses, maybe we call them, you essentially supply the frame. Do you supply windows, doors and all that?
We can do. So it depends on the project and what the customer wants to do. So we'll definitely show the locations of any windows and doors in the building. Yep. That's got a lot to do with where bracing has to go. Yeah, just making sure that the shed is designed as 1A. It's going to stand up.
It's suitable.
And it's suitable, fit for purpose, really.
Because I've no doubt you've had this problem. We've had a similar problem where people have got, get a prefabricated building and they want to put this massive sliding door in the end. It's like 7 metres wide and your shed's only 8 metres wide. And you have to tell them, well, it ain't going to work because there's nothing holding it up.
That's it. You've got to have some bracing somewhere.
Yes. Well, they do it later on and they cut it out anyway.
Yes, that does happen as well.
It's not without a permit.
So there are restrictions to the size of any form of openings that you have, whether they be windows and doors.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're generally working in bay sizes. So we're going to have set positions for columns. It might be every 4 metres, you're going to have a post, and that has to be there. And then you're sort of working within that bay space. So, you generally want to have some sections of wall where you can have like a diagonal strap brace that's running from one column through to the other column. And so, it does restrict you a little bit on where you can put windows and doors and also how big they can be sometimes. So we try to find ways to work around it, either, reducing a window size or moving it to a different position, things like that.
But I suppose about we were talking before we started the podcast is that some people have this idea that your prefabricated buildings, you can do anything with them. They are limited. Otherwise, well, then you've got to go to the normal form of construction of timber frame. That's going to give you a level of flexibility. But even then, we have to put steel in it sometimes to meet, they want these big windows and whatnot. You've got to put steel to hold it together.
Yep.
There are restrictions.
Yep.
So you've got limitations. Every form of construction has a level of limitations. So if you work within it, because there are big advantages going for a prefabricated building.
Yeah, definitely. I think it gives people a lot of flexibility to come up with a floor plan that they love. And especially, like you're saying, to combine a living space together with a storage space for a boat, a caravan, a workshop. And that's where we do see the Class 1A livable buildings work well.
It does. Or even we've done a lot of granny flats.
Yes.
So inside the sheds, and we use those, call it a granny flat, 60 square metres max, and then it's there while they're building their house.
That's right. It gives people that space.
It does, and it works well.
They can live there, whether themselves, they can rent it out later.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, have a family member live there.
Yep,
Yeah,
as soon as you call it a granny flat. But don't call it an ancillary dwelling.
No.
Oh,
Why is
really?
that? I didn't know that.
Well, okay, I've got to share this story. Another designer rang me, frustrated as hell, at a certain southern council where last year he had an ancillary dwelling, so another dwelling detached from the house, and it was called an ancillary. Didn't call it a granny flat. Anyway, it all got a permit, no worries. So he submitted another one for another customer. Got a call from the council, no, we're not going to support this. What do you mean? What's stopping you? The scheme allows it. Well, I'm the new head planner and I don't like it, it's not happening. I kid you not. He rang me out of frustration about this and I says, how big is it? He says, would you believe it's under 60 square metres? And I go, yeah. So are you thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah, it's going to go for a granny flat. So he asked him, I can go as a granny flat. Yep, you can do that. And he goes, hang on, I can go as a granny flat instead of an ancillary, yet you won't allow the ancillary, but you allow a granny flat. Yes. And it's like...
It's all in the wording.
Oh, and how ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
And this is all because of someone's opinion. And I heard another one about temporary dwelling, doing a temporary dwelling that... Because we did one out of Bishopburn. We put a temporary dwelling inside the shed.
Yes.
It was a bit bigger than 60 square metres. But now, if you applied as 60 square metres, they can keep it.
Yes.
Whereas previously, we had to take it apart. You weren't allowed to keep it.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Temporary dwellings. So you get a temporary occupancy permit for the 2 years while you're building the house.
And is that in a Class 10 building or it still has to be Class 1A?
Has to be done, everything as per Class 1A.
Yeah.
That doesn't change. Still got to meet bushfire, still got to meet the thermal performance, everything.
Yes.
Because there's been too many instances, people's circumstances change, they lose the money and they're stuck.
And that's their sole dwelling then?
It becomes their sole dwelling. And then I know of one, they had, one of the partners had cancer, no income, they were a bit stuck and the council didn't have the heart to kick them out.
No.
At least they had a heart.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
It was.
It's not
It was
always
quite a
the
number.
case.
It was a couple of years ago. So, but this is the weird stuff we've got to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, so the granny flat legislation's been the best thing ever.
Oh, so they do actually have special legislation
Yeah,
for
it got
it.
brought in, and the idea was that you can rent this out. So this goes on to another tangent, but like you can put a granny flat in the back of your house, and you can rent it out. But it's not intended to be strated and sold off as a separate. It's part of the building. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's called a granny flat. It's not just for granny. It could be for anyone, and you can rent it out. It's to help alleviate some of the housing crisis.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, by the way, this is in Tasmania, the legislation.
Yes, obviously. Yep.
Yeah, but I believe they've got something similar in Victoria. They've had granny flats over there for quite a while.
Yeah, I've heard similar from other sheds and homes franchises around the country that there is similar legislation. I think also in New South Wales.
Yeah.
I think the sizing of the ancillary or granny flat may vary a little bit from state to state, but there are similar rules.
But that for you guys to be able to supply a shed, so they've got a garage and habitable area, bingo.
Yeah, it works well for that sort of situation.
It's fantastic. So we've been talking about sheds, the man caves, the she sheds. Can I say the other one? The bitch barn.
Too.
I couldn't believe you told me that name. All right, that's fantastic. Anyway, so you also do a whole bunch of other prefabricated buildings, so commercial buildings.
Yeah, we've done a fair bit of commercial in the last few years. Yeah, especially for warehousing.
Yep.
We've had quite a few storage buildings, so people setting up storage units. We've also seen, workshops, commercial workshops for service centres, things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so quite a wide range. We also do farm buildings.
Yep,
yeah.
farm building's a big one, I would suspect.
Yep.
Yep. I remember I did a warehouse. Yeah, big warehouse out of a prefab. So, it also what you're paying for as well. So with the warehouse and factories, you've got to be real careful protecting the structure because they're not the same as some of the other sheds because you hit it with a forklift, you're going to do permanent damage to it.
Yeah, you definitely want to be prepared for that.
Yeah, we put bollards and protection around them.
Yeah.
So we have customers that want to specify, a prefabricated shed. Then we've got to protect the elements around the doors. The doors,
roller doors especially.
Yeah, roller doors and also the door frames and wayward vehicles and forklifts. People that don't care what they're doing, smack the side of it. Yeah.
Not uncommon to hear of that.
No. So I've got to ask, what's the craziest request you've ever had?
I think I've had a few like this where people are often wanting to join multiple buildings together to create one. And, that's complicated.
So they're trying to fit it between other buildings.
Yeah, like create L shapes, different heights.
Yeah. Because really, you're just doing a straight run.
Generally, we're doing rectangular buildings.
Because the way your roofs are done, they're designed because they're gables.
Yep.
It just works. And as soon as you make an L shape, you got to put a valley and a hip in there.
It
doesn't quite work that well with, especially at 11 degrees.
Yes.
Because most of your roof pitches are 11.
Most are 11. We can also, I should say 10.
Okay.
Some
10?
manufacturers are different.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we can do like 10-degree roof pitch in a gable.
Yep.
We could do 15,
Yes.
22.5 and 30 degrees. So
okay.
yeah, there's a few options. When you get to the 30 degrees, it is a little bit more limited in like the spans that you can get and like how
sense.
high sometimes. Yeah, skillion roofs we can a little bit more limited, but 6 degrees.
Yeah, like the one you did for me.
Yeah.
That worked perfect.
Storage
for that.
building.
Yeah, storage.
6 degrees or 10 degrees we can do with the skillion roofs. So
How far can you go with a skillion roof?
in a span,
Yeah.
the biggest that I've done is 15 metres.
Well, that's fair going.
It is. It's quite a big rafter. You're looking at C300, C350.
Yeah, really.
So that's like the size of the C purlin, so in millimetres. So it's
You might
quite
get a little
big.
bit of bend in that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, they're often running them back to back then.
Yeah,
so it's
sure.
creating almost like an I-shaped beam
Sure.
or a H-beam, depending on what you would call
I
it.
know what you mean.
I have no idea what you mean, but
We won't go into steel shapes.
yeah, it sounds a little bit complicated.
I'd have to show that on a video to explain it to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'd say, like, if people are interested, they should have a bit of a look on the manufacturers. So, like Metrol or Lyasart, the main manufacturers, and you can kind of see the types of steel sections that they're rolling, and that's what we use for shed frames.
Yeah. So, 15 minutes on skiing roofs, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I could have gone
huge.
bigger with my shed then.
You could have.
Fair enough.
We would have had less car parking space though, Frank.
It's more parking for my cars though.
Yes, that is very true.
I think the driveway would have disappeared.
I reckon.
That's all right. Drive through.
Drive through, yeah.
So, have you had any, like, the American Quakers barn was popular there for a long time. People had those. Do you still get those requests?
We don't actually do a Quaker barn.
Don't you? Oh,
No.
wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure who does them anymore, but
They were a thing for a long time in
Yes.
the 90s and 2000s.
and we do get requests for them every now and then. Yeah, the nearest thing we do is like an American style
Yeah,
barn.
sure.
Yep. With the gable pitch and
Yep.
lean to each side.
Yeah, we've done a couple of those and make them into houses.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and they actually work really well.
They can do, especially if people want like a double height building or using a mezzanine floor
Yep.
as well.
Yeah, the ones we've done mainly is building 2 bedrooms up the top, central staircase and a bathroom. So that worked quite well. And then garage one side and then the rest was all living.
Yeah,
Just works perfect for that.
work well.
So how high can you actually go? Are there rules around that?
Our limitations in the designs are usually around the 6 metre mark for wall height. So it can end up higher depending on how steep the roof pitch is.
Because you'd have that with commercial sheds, factories and farms. That's getting pretty custom though, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. But livable, you're sort of looking, most of them are around the 5.5, 6 metre wall height if they're looking at doing like a split level or 2-storey building.
Yep. And also if you're doing that, you've got to watch out for the knee braces.
You do. We can remove them in some cases now.
Okay.
So
We never used to be able to do that.
no, that's relatively new. Last
cool.
probably couple of years, and it does depend on the design of the building. But yes, sometimes we can remove them, which especially for livable buildings is great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we always had to design around it. And for everyone out there who doesn't know what a knee brace is, it's very hard to explain what it looks like. But just Google knee brace in a shed frame and that should do it. And they can be restrictive. So we always built around the knee braces. That's where we put a wall.
Yes. And generally we would still try to do that because then you hide away a lot of the bigger part of the steel structure. It's more hidden.
And also makes it more rigid too. knee braces and those, you really need those.
Yes. Yeah, they generally try to build it into brackets and things now as well. So
Okay, then the brackets can get nice and...
the brackets get bigger.
That'd be getting really big.
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah, okay. But it's cool that they've been able to do that. So what are the first steps for a client who's considering to build a shed for you? You know, they come to you, I need a man cave.
Yeah, so for me, I really like to ask them about what they're using the building for, because that just helps to give me an idea of what they actually need. And I also like to ask them about what they might use it for in the future as well, because with a shed, you're generally doing a project like that once or maybe twice in your lifetime. So it is important to think about not just what you want the shed for right now, but what it might be used for in the future. So yeah, I'll generally ask questions like that. I'll put together a bit of a quote based on what they need, or what they've asked for. And yeah, then I would recommend then the next step is to look into council requirements to make sure that they can actually do what they want to do. And yeah, generally send them to somebody like you guys to get some site plans drawn up and council applications sorted out.
And I suppose going to council to find out what they need, because we've discussed this on the podcast previously, in Tasmania, we've got this beautiful rule where you don't need a permit up to 36 square metres.
Correct.
Subject to.
Yes.
You can't build over an easement. You can't build over a pipe. You're within 6 metres of your house. You got with bushfire has a bearing, landslip, and planning overlays. Is that about it?
I think so.
So there's a few things to consider.
Yeah. You can go larger with farm buildings as well. So that's another good tip for people out there, I guess, that if you do have a rural property, you can build up to a 200 square metre farm building without a building permit. So
there's a man cave.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Proper workshop.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't know if your hobbies would come under farming.
Just put a tractor in one end, wouldn't you? Mind you, can only be on rural zoning land, though.
You'd be coming to my place then.
Oh, well, we're going to do one for your new joint.
Yeah. Why not?
That'll be exciting.
I know.
Yeah, you're super excited, aren't you?
I know. I'm trying not to be too excited, but yeah, I am very excited.
So we're going to go for a big 200 square metre shed?
I'm sure Nick would love it.
He'd love it. Come on. It'd be great. Here's one for you. When you're designing a shed near the coast, so under the National Construction Code, we've got to consider the corrosive environment. So how do you guys deal with it from a prefabrication point of view? Because we know when we design a house or similar near the coast, we have real restrictions on the cladding that we use, all the fixtures, your screws, your bolts, your nails, everything you use has to meet the requirements of the corrosive environment. How do you guys do it? Because your shed's all steel.
All steel, yeah. So we can't change the framework of the steel. It's all galvaspan. So that's not something we can change, unfortunately. No. Cladding, so roofing and wall cladding, we can get Colorbond Ultra, which is designed for corrosive environments.
I think it can go within 200 metres of breaking surf.
That's right. Yep. So if you're closer than that, then especially don't really want to be building a house using a steel frame. It's probably not the best solution.
No. Yeah. And that's obvious because the frame is only, I'm actually not sure what's the frame rated to from a corrosion resistance.
The answer
not
to
sure?
that. Yeah, it's
because you wouldn't recommend to do it within
because
you wouldn't want to go within 200 metres of breaking surf.
No.
So everyone knows under the building code we have limitations how close we can get to the water. Now, especially with breaking surf, we're in Launceston, so we're in the Tamar. That's an estuary. That actually changes it a lot because we don't have water splashing everywhere, but there's still a bearing of moisture around you. Same with the Derwent and Hobart, but as soon as you get to the coast and it's breaking surf, it has a massive effect. Yep. Even within a kilometre.
Yeah, that's right.
It has a big effect.
And if you use standard Colorbond within a kilometre, you basically don't have a warranty on that Colorbond. So people can still make that decision to use Colorbond, but it just means that you don't have the warranty to back up the product. So
Yeah. Well, and if you accept that, you know, you might have to replace it in X amount of years.
That's right. Yeah.
But there's been plenty of places there sitting around the coast in Tassie that have lasted a long, long time.
For many years, yeah. And probably previous generations of Colorbond as well that maybe weren't quite as durable.
Yes, well, that's very true, wasn't it? There was a whole period there that stuff was rubbish. But then you look at the old Galvo sheets,
yes,
and some of that stuff's still there.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, the old
pretty
Lysart.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh, Lysart Galvo sheets, amazing. One question for you. So when people come to us and we want to design a house or come to you and they want to prefabricate it, eaves overhangs. Can you guys do that now?
We can.
Wow,
cool. On most buildings, so gable roof buildings, we can generally go up to a 600 millimetre.
That's straight out from the gable?
Out from the gable end and also on the gutter sides of the buildings.
That changes things massively.
Yep. It is a little bit more limited and it will depend on the wind rating for the building and the overall design structurally of the building. So it can be limited, but it is possible.
Okay.
Skillion roofs are a little bit more challenging. We can do the same sized eaves on the ends and the low side, but not the high sides of skillions at the moment, as in standard within our engineering program. We do have some engineers that we've worked with in the past and designed skillion high side eaves and also larger eaves on gable buildings. We've done some up to 1.5 and a 2 metre overhang on
so
rafters.
So using much bigger top hats then?
It's basically an extension of the rafter then.
Oh, okay.
Then, a combination of SHS and either top hat or Z purlin. Sorry, that's probably a bit technical if you don't know what those products are.
But I suppose more the point of, in previous years gone by, you can tell when a prefabricated shed has been made into a house.
That's it.
Now that you can put eaves, it changes it. It changes the game. It doesn't look like a shed anymore.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the angles, the roof pitch. That also changes it as well, because we used to have so many restrictions on the prefabrication. Now, obviously, there's a lot more flexibility.
Especially when you're wanting to make it into a house, you can get that look. It's not as
shed looking.
That's right.
Sheddy.
Sheddy.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But some people love that shed look.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of them around and they're happy as Larry with it. That's good. It comes down to what at the end of the day, it's your castle. You're happy with how you want it to look. But I think the more options and flexibility for people, that's good. But obviously you're going to pay more for that.
You do, yeah. And like I say, if we do those custom projects where you're looking at larger eaves or changing a cladding type on a wall, for example, that's one of the other things you could do in a coastal environment. So we could remove wall cladding to be replaced with something else that's, better for a corrosive environment.
So just looking on the wall in here, we've got a few different examples. So could you use a Scion product, or a WeatherTex, Cemental? Yep. So that's basically you can design it to set up the battens on the walls in the spacing to suit that cladding? That's
right, yep.
Brilliant.
And generally we try to keep the weight of that cladding down.
Yep.
Just with the steel frame, it's not really designed for some of the heavier weight claddings. I know some of the newer products that have come out from James Hardie are a bit heavier now.
They're really
they're
thick.
Getting quite thick and quite heavy.
And that's also to get the rebate looks on them too.
Yeah, that's it. So mostly if a cladding's around sort of the 10 to 13 kilos per square metre, like if you're looking at specifications, that will work for most sheds.
Okay, look for everything else. So I'm a big WeatherTex fan and, with that timber finish. So, that would work well then.
Yeah, yep.
Love it. More options.
There's plenty of options.
Yeah, it's good. And I suppose that comes down to being pushed, customers asking, and then obviously you're part of a larger franchise and they're being proactive.
That's right. I mean, we try to work as much as we can within the standard design program, but if people do come to us with custom requests, we do have options to get additional engineering done. We take it as far as we can within our program and then we say, hey, what else can we do on top of this? So we're always happy to look at the odd custom project here and there, see what we can achieve.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
very good. No, I love that. You learn something new.
You've got so many ideas now. I can just see your brain ticking over.
I'm thinking for myself and my shed.
Oh, I know you were.
Because then it doesn't look like everyone else's shed. We're all individuals. We want to be able to customise stuff to suit our needs. So, yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Very cool. So what sort of restrictions and limitations do you have on prefabricated sheds?
Yes, I know we spoke about like the spans before, so that's probably a big one. Yeah, like I said, with the skillions, that 15 metres is about the biggest
limit
span that I've gone to. With a gable roof, we can generally go up to about 30 metres in the span. The length for us isn't so much of a problem because we're just adding on portal
Extra
frames
bays.
and bays.
Just keep adding on.
So, yeah, it's fairly limitless in that respect. And yeah, heights, like we've spoken about, we can go to around that 6 metre height. You probably can push it in some cases, depending on the building.
And we also talked about the openings as well, the limitations on those,
But also
windows and doors.
the wind rating has a big bearing on it too.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. So every shed that we design, and a lot of companies do this, there's an independent body that oversees a lot of it within Australia called Shed Safe, and basically they're looking at the terrain, is the building protected from the wind by any other structures, and basically at the end of that process you end up with a metres per second wind rating. So that's basically the sustained winds that the building can handle, and it's make sure that the building is actually designed for where it's going to go, because you could have a shed here in the middle of Launceston that's quite protected by other big warehouses, or you could have a shed in the middle of an open paddock with
Like a
huge
farm
roller
shed.
doors on it.
Like a farm shed.
A farm shed.
Or with no roller doors.
No
Just
roller doors,
open.
could just be a hay shed or something
Big
like that.
hay shed.
Yeah.
They love collecting air.
Yes. So
Tear themselves apart.
you do just want to make sure that, you're not just buying a building off the shelf.
Yes.
That's not the right way to look at it. You definitely want to make sure that it's going to be designed for where it's going. Yeah,
But also people have got to use the building for what it's designed for too.
that's right.
I've unfortunately seen some failures where people have hung stuff
Yes.
off the portal and just overcooked it a little bit and bent it out of shape and buckled the roof.
Yeah, you have to use the building appropriately, that's for sure.
Well, it was never designed for that.
That's right, yeah.
When Launceston had that snow
Yes.
fall, we never have, or once every 50 years we get snow.
Sorry.
And there was a couple of buildings that suffered badly from getting a snow load on them, and that's just what it was. And can't control that. Once in 50 years is a bit rough, isn't it? But it's using your building appropriately too, because these are designed to a budget as well.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of the time it's budget involved, so...
Yeah, very much so. But it's also the convenience, the speed of these things, because in some cases they're very quick to put up.
Oh, yeah, like
As well.
a traditional two-car garage, like once the slab's down, something like that would be installed within a day a lot of the time. So it's very quick.
Yeah, and obviously you have referrals to guys that specialise at erecting and assembling the sheds.
Yeah, they do it all the time, so they do get very quick at it.
But it's also the technique of doing it.
Yes.
Because I have read some of the installation stuff, and there's a real technique to it.
Yeah, if you haven't, I always say to people, if you haven't built a shed before, the first time you will spend a lot of time scratching your head and sort of working out the right way to do things and the terminology.
Yeah.
But once you've done one, they are all fairly similar. The concept's the same. So
Sounds like IKEA.
a little bit.
IKEA for sheds.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. There you go.
I think especially, so we also have like a kit home range which uses steel stud frame rather than so it's like a timber stud frame, but it's constructed from lightweight steel.
Yep.
And
What's the wall thickness? What's the stud thickness on those?
90 millimetres, so
Nice.
same as a
I've seen some other ones
traditional
with
timber.
76, and I go, how do you fit the insulation in there?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't, does it?
And so something like that is I find a lot more like IKEA, because you basically have a plan for each wall panel. And I say to people, like, nearly anyone could do that, could construct one of those panels.
So they don't fabricate the walls, you get all the steel to put it together?
You got all the individual pieces, and you're
just
putting
pop it
together panel by panel.
And they just, tech screws?
They're screwed together, like with like a needle point screw.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have little recessed holes that the screws sit in, so it all sits nice and flat. So when you go put your plasterboard on, it's
that's cool.
You don't have any what would you call it?
Lumps and bumps in your
Lumps
plaster. In your plaster.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So,
I didn't know you did that either.
Yeah. They are set plan designs, so
They would be, because then they could prefabricate and they would all be marked different.
that's it. Yeah.
all
So
numbered individually.
we don't adjust those plans at all. They are what they are.
Yeah, but also you can get them for a reasonable price, then I would suggest.
That's it. And I think I was saying this to Amelia before as well, like they are a good cost-effective option. If people are happy with the plan, if they can settle on a floor plan, they may not be the dream floor plan, but if you can work with it, they're a good option, and especially for people who want to be owner builders as well.
Yep.
Really good option for them too.
Yeah, which I must say, being an owner builder, I've done it myself earlier on in my career, and it was really good for what I do, to learn how to do that. Did it a couple of times actually. Mind you, never get that time back because it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
But to do something like that, and if it's pretty well set out, that's a cool way of doing it, because you get it weather tight really fast.
You do, and and like you say, it's an achievable way to build a home as well, especially if you feel a little bit daunted by, making sure everything's square. And that's the beauty of a prefab steel kit home, is that it's all going to be squared up.
Square's good.
Yeah.
Straight's good.
Makes it easy.
It doesn't have that organic bend or shape in it.
No.
As if you do it yourself, you've never done it before. Might look a bit organic.
That's right.
Organic, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, rather than bug it up, looks like a dog's hind leg. So, that's cool. Yeah. So, people could then build their own.
That's right, yeah. Something I did want to ask you about is condensation.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about condensation. And
we've talked about this a bit.
We have.
Steel frame buildings. It's a challenge.
It would be, because you've got thermal conductivity.
That's right.
So, as funnily enough, we've been talking about that just this week, about that, and more about some other manufactured building prefabricated transportable homes, and they're all steel framed.
Yeah.
And there's, we're trying to educate ourselves on these, and we're talking about, well, do you put on foam tapes and things like that to bridge the thermal bridge to try and combat that? But on going as a holistic view, we've got to be able to vent the cavities, the cladding and the stud. That's one part. The other part is ventilate the roof space. But the other part that's missing, I'm a strong believer of ventilating the living space. So, sounds weird, open your windows. But in Tasmania after last week, with we got down to -3 and 4,
yes,
and consistent for a whole week. I've never seen it like that before. And I wasn't here, thankfully. I was on leave.
Oh, don't rub it in.
I can't believe I timed my holiday so
He was in the Sunshine State and we were freezing our little tushies off.
Yeah, so I was up north a fair way, me and my wife and her friends were looking at the temperatures. I can't believe we missed this.
Yeah, you definitely rubbed it in. You sent us all photos of your
at least
lovely...
you asked me to, and I felt bad sending it.
We're like, thanks, Frank. This is what we have to deal with. And I sent the whole week of minus temperatures.
Yeah, it was.
Well, at least you weren't at Liweenie.
True. We weren't at Liweenie.
What did you get to? 12.9 or 13?
Mine was 13 point something, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
Ouch.
Looked pretty on the photos.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful, but...
I'm not going there. So, back to condensation. It's ventilating the living space, because we generate moisture, condensation ourselves, just living in it. So we've been talking about this over a whole bunch of podcasts, but also inside the office. We're talking about it constantly, and working with builders, how to ventilate the roof, how to ventilate the cavities. But I believe that the most efficient way of ventilating your living space is using a heat recovery ventilation system. So it brings in fresh air inside the building, sucks out the dirty air, but then takes out about 85% of the heat out of the air going out, puts it back into the air coming in.
Retains the heat for the living space. Yeah.
To a point, yeah. And then you get, quite a number of air changes in there. So that dirty, moist air goes out.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it.
It is, yeah. I've heard a lot of that from like America. I think it's quite common there.
It's very common. Here, we're a bit slow on the
Common.
uptake.
Yep.
To me, bang for your buck, it's a very good way of doing it. Everyone thinks a heat pump does it, like this one here, but heat pumps, reverse cycle air conditioning to the mainlanders.
Yes.
We need the heating more than the AC. That a lot of them don't actually bring air in. All they're doing is just recirculating the air inside the space.
Yeah.
And with the steel frame, you've got that, the dew point on a steel frame is vastly different to what you do on a timber frame. Yeah, it does make it a lot more challenging.
And that's what we're seeing a lot of now with, the livable sheds, especially people putting on like a timber batten before they're cladding the outside.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're seeing quite a bit of that. And you talked about ventilation as well, and we often do like a vented ridge.
Yep, we're doing that as well, vented ridges. Yep.
Yeah.
But you still got to get somewhere to get the air to get in there.
That's right.
And you don't have eaves generally.
No, it's all
that?
using the ridge line. So you've got basically a grill on the ends of the sheet that's allowing the airflow continuously through the ridge.
Okay,
and the ceiling
so you do it at
space.
the gable ends to get the air flowing through and then through the ridge?
No, it's along the whole ridge line. So it's basically circulating in that ceiling space.
Just via the ridge, no other area? Okay.
Yep.
With the houses we're doing, we're getting it through the eaves.
Okay.
So it goes up through the eaves and then up through the ridge because heat rises.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it naturally drags it through.
Yeah.
So, and there's lots of discussion about this space. The governments or CBOS have put out their recommendations and we're all scratching our heads. I was talking to one builder today and from a big, he's the foreman of quite a large company in Hobart, and we're talking about ventilation with certain things like there are no solutions yet. Like you can sketch it on a piece of paper, but it's total rubbish when you get to site to try and build it.
Yeah, and we've found that too with projects, and some have gone ahead and then it's something of an afterthought as well. The builders are on site trying to find a solution. So
they haven't thought about it prior to the start, where we're
build.
all trying to think of ways before we start building on site so you can order things or get stuff fabricated, whatever it may be.
And have it designed in the right way, so
Exactly.
that it all works when you do go to
And
to build it.
in compliance with bushfire requirements.
That's right.
We talk about the bushfire stuff and it drives us mad.
Yeah. It
does.
So we've got to make it seal for bushfire so embers can't get in, but we've got to let it ventilate.
Catch-22 sometimes.
It is. Australia's a strange place like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of challenges.
A lot of
different
bushfires.
areas.
A lot
as
of bush.
well.
Yeah, bushfires, moisture, freezing cold, and Australia's got so many climate zones, you know, and you're part of a larger franchise. The way they guys build it in Queensland and WA is vastly different how we do it in Tassie.
That's right.
So, with the sheds, I'll go back to commercial sheds. I find I've had some clients freak out because they move a little bit in the wind, and I know they're all engineered and stuff, but and there's a bit of flex in them because because they're lightweight.
They're lightweight, and you're dealing with a portal frame, so you've got columns or posts and rafters that are just connected to one another, and then they're linked by purlins. So the portal frames especially do have a lot of movement in them, and you do. It's not something to be afraid of. They are still engineered to handle the wind.
It does freak people out sometimes.
But it's something to definitely make sure that you are getting a building that's designed correctly. But you do expect some movement and also expansion and contraction.
Yeah, of course.
Expansion and contraction because it's steel. So,
of course. It's just going to grow and shrink because of the heat and cold. Of course it does. And it does creak a little bit then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the compromise.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but even if you get a different type of steel shed built, it's still going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Still. It expands.
Yeah. And I think portal frames in general, like you'll have more movement in something like that. It's just the nature of them. So
Yeah.
All right, so let's just start wrapping up. Are there any key points to mention or suggestions to anyone that wants to start with either building a prefabricated shed or going into building a home?
Yeah, I'd say definitely just reiterate what I said at the beginning, think about what you'll use the building for, what do you need it for and what's the purpose, and we'll generally try to work around design to suit.
And can I just make a comment? When I got my shed done, your process was fantastic.
Oh,
I loved your process. You made it really super easy. I'm a little bit fortunate where I can give you a bunch of drawings very easily because I know exactly what I want. But then you made a few suggestions in there as well, and the actual process of getting the shed here and all that was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy part, I think, is the supply chain is great, really, on the whole. Once you order the materials, you'll generally, or at the moment, see them in about 8 weeks. So
that's a bit quicker than
it's
what
a
I
quick
had mine.
turnaround.
But it's supply and demand though, isn't it?
That's right. I think when you ordered your shed, it was probably in the middle of COVID somewhere.
It was bonkers.
Yeah.
And everything
we saw
was
up to 16 weeks, I think.
Everything COVID was ridiculous.
Yes.
Glad we're over that.
Yeah, me too. So are there any resources available or out there that people can get access to learn a little bit more?
Yeah, so we've spoken about CBOS. They have a really good fact sheet about building a shed in Tasmania. It's called Building a Shed in Tasmania.
Gee, they're a creative bunch, aren't
So
they?
unique. Love it.
But it is a really good fact sheet if you sort of wanted just a bit of general information on those buildings that you can build without a building permit. So that's a good one.
It tells you about all the things you got to check.
That's right.
Oh, brilliant.
And it's got a little table. It's quite easy to follow.
Okay, they did something right.
They did.
You sound like a cynic there, Frank.
At times I am. I'm sorry.
We also have our website, which is just www.shedsandhomes.com.au, and there's heaps of fantastic projects there. You can see all sorts of ideas, and there's a bit of blog and information there as well about building sheds, so that's also a good place. And our Facebook page as well, we have Sheds and Homes Facebook. You can see a lot of projects there and see what other people have been up to, and it's a great place for ideas, so
Excellent.
check it out.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Rebecca. We've been enlightened as to what is available in terms of sheds and shouses, and Frank's planning his next shed or shed house or
I'm not doing a
man
shed house. I need
cave
a
or-
shed so I can put a hoist in it.
Oh.
Oh, you need the height.
Exactly. Well, you're looking at me strange. Am I the first guy that wants to put a hoist in a shed?
No,
You would have had heaps of guys and girls wanting to do that.
Heaps, yes.
Because now
Very
hoists,
common.
because hoists have become so cost effective.
Yeah, they're not as expensive as they used
Oh,
to be.
it's fantastic. Here you go. You don't understand.
Oh, no, that's all right. I'm going to catch up with Rebecca after this, and we're going to plan the most fantastic farm shed that she's ever seen.
Probably with a couple of stables in it.
Oh, really?
Yes, exactly.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. So what's Nick getting in there?
What? Oh, no, he doesn't
A
get it.
studio?
No.
Oh, come on.
He'll have to build his own.
Ooh, good luck on that. That's going to be a tough dinner conversation, I think.
No, he'll be way too demanding.
That's all right. He's allowed to. Oh, you're going to get the she shed. He's going to get the man cave,
Yeah, exactly.
the studio.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
We can do that.
we can do that. Let's start planning it now.
Oh, I can spend your money.
Okay. Thanks for listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.
Catch us later.
See ya.
You're listening to the Building Design Primetime Podcast.